Hello everyone. We'll just get started in around 2 minutes, waiting for a few other participants to join. Okay, so let's get started with today's webinar. Thanks a lot for attending. Our topic, which we are going to cover today, is how to make a transition to machine learning and build a research profile in this field. Before we get started, we just have a Google form in which we have asked your level of machine learning and your field of study. This will help us to tailor the webinar accordingly. So I'm just going to share the link with this form on the chat, and you can you can fill out this form. It will just take around 1 minute, and I'll come back to this form and its responses in 2 to 3 minutes on subsequent slides. Also, please note that we are recording this webinar, and the entire video recording will be available to all the participants. So please don't worry if something is missed, and if you feel that in some parts we have gone a bit fast, you can always go back through the video and revise your concepts. We will aim to keep this webinar around 1 hour, 1 hour, 5 minutes duration. And towards the end, if we get time, we'll also take some of the questions on the chat. So, as the webinar is progressing, you can also stay active on the chat and ask a lot of questions. Let's get started with that. So, today's agenda is that first, I'm going to explain my story and why we are conducting this webinar in the first place. Secondly, I'll explain a bit about traditional machine learning and how I accidentally discovered the field of scientific machine learning and how it completely transformed my life. And then finally, we'll talk a bit about converting your scientific machine learning project results into a publication and how you can start working on your first machine learning research publication. Towards the end today, we have a special section where we will discuss about the courses and the artificial intelligence bootcamp, which we are going to start in January. As I mentioned, please stay active in the chat and ask any questions if you're unclear about some concept. Let us try to make this session interactive. Okay, so we have conducted maybe 3 to 4 scientific machine learning webinars this year. So if someone has attended one such webinar previously, it will be a good revision for you. Whereas if someone is coming for the first time, welcome. I think this will be an awesome session for you, which might completely change the trajectory of your machine learning transition. So when I joined IIT Madras BTech in 2013, I joined as a mechanical engineer. And when I passed out of IIT Madras in 2017, I had no clue about machine learning at all. In fact, I joined MIT for a PhD in mechanical engineering itself, and I wanted to become a professor in this field. And I really had a strong vision of becoming a professor because until that point, I had not started studying ML at all. But what happened in the second year of my PhD is that I went to a job fair at MIT, and what I saw there really demotivated me. I saw that most of the jobs were in the space of ML and AI, and even core jobs such as mechanical engineer jobs had some ML or AI component which they required. And then I felt very insecure in that job fair, and I felt that I don't have the skills which are necessary for the job market. And then slowly I started losing interest in the field of mechanical engineering, and that's when I decided to completely switch to machine learning. In fact, during that time I was even considering quitting MIT and coming back to India. But luckily I found a research group in machine learning, and very luckily that group was in the field of scientific machine learning. I stumbled upon the field of scientific ML by chance, and it turned out to be the best decision I took because it completely transformed my life. In the next 3 years, I not only transitioned to machine learning, but I also published ML papers, which now have more than 400 citations. And I defended my machine learning PhD thesis at MIT. And all this happened within a period of 3 years for me. Remember, I was a mechanical engineer before. So that's the reason we are conducting this webinar to pass on these learnings to you. At whatever stage of your career you are in, whether you are a student in some different domain wanting to transition to ML, or whether you are a person working in industry wanting to transition to ML, this webinar will be relevant. Now, let me go to the form and check out the responses which all of you have filled out. So I can see here that most of the people belong to mechanical, electrical, computer science, biological engineering, chemical engineering, physics. Awesome. And the transition roadmap which we are going to share with you today is equally applicable to all of these fields. Then around 30% of the people in this call are complete beginners. About 40% have a basic level, whereas around remaining 30% have an intermediate ML knowledge. And ML courses which you have taken before, I'm sure people have taken Andrew Ng's courses, Coursera, Udacity, even Udemy courses are quite popular. Okay, that's good to know the fundamental background of where all of you are coming from. But to all the mechanical engineers in this webinar, I was also one among here, and even Shridat was a mechanical engineer before. In all of the fields which you are in, whenever I'm giving some examples, try to relate it with your field. That's when the value of the webinar will be higher or even compounded. Okay, so the reason we emphasize a lot on the research is that here are some of the publications which I had at the end of my PhD in the field of COVID-19 integrated with machine learning. So I had publications in Cell Patterns, Science Journal, even collaborated with the US government on a number of research articles. And it's due to these research papers that I actually uh, got job offers from companies like Julia Computing, Amazon, etc. So everyone has machine learning projects. It is very important to convert those projects to publications. And that's what I did. I'll come to this point again and again in this webinar. So all of you would have this question that how did I switch to machine learning really? And that too in the time frame of 3 years, right? How was this possible for me and how you can do it too? With the end goal of having publications, with the end goal of transitioning to a better job, with the end goal of maybe finding a machine learning engineer job, whatever might be the end goal. It's important for all of you to know the trajectory which I followed and which all of you can follow too. So first myth which I want to break is that is ML only meant for CA students. So when I transitioned to machine learning, I thought that I would not be able to make this transition because I had not taken any CS course before. I had not taken a data structures algorithm course. I had not learned about computer architecture the way it's formally taught in CS. I was a core mechanical engineer. So the first myth which I want to break to all of you is that no matter which field you belong to, among all of these fields, everyone can transition to machine learning. The building blocks at the heart of this field are linear algebra, statistics, and calculus. And these three building blocks do not prevent anyone from transitioning to ML. There is no reason at all why only CA students can make this transition. Of course, all the CA students in this call, they can definitely make this transition, but as is the case with all the other students. And now, even, and the second thing I want to say is that whichever field or whichever stage of your career you are in, even if it's late, if you're a mid-level manager in a company or if you've just started as a working professional, it's never too late to transition to ML. The field is the field is taken off completely, and there are so many jobs at different levels available that it's just the right time for all of us to learn about ML and AI. Okay, so one thing I want to mention is that the roadmap which we are telling you right now is not just meant for research publications, but even job offers. So this is what many people don't, it's not intuitive for many students that having a research publication can also open the door for jobs. So when I had my first research publication in machine learning, I actually got offers from Meta, Amazon, and even interview calls with these companies. And they reached out to me through my LinkedIn profile. And I believe that was predominantly because of my research publication and not because of the courses which I had taken. Okay, so when I came back to India and when I looked back as to why I could transition to machine learning so quickly and so effectively, I realized that there are three main reasons at the heart of it. The first major reason is that the way traditional ML is taught is not correct for engineers. I accidentally discovered this new field of scientific machine learning. Secondly, when I was transitioning to this field, I talked with a senior, and the senior really inspired me to. I remember I wanted to quit MIT and go back to India, but when I talked to this senior, he said that it's fine. You can also make this transition, and switching labs is not a sign of failure, but it's a sign that you want to learn something new. So I hope that this webinar also serves as that kind of a belief, which I got from my senior. And this belief we want to give to all of you that anyone can make a very firm transition to ML. You just need to know the right way to do it. The third part is the most important thing. What I've seen many students do is that they just do quick Kaggle projects or quick GitHub projects. They clone a repository, they run the project, and they add it to their resume. Quick projects don't add any value to your resume because anyone can do these projects. To have something of value, you need something which differentiates you from the rest of the people, right? And research is one such factors which differentiates you because it's not easy to do research. It's not easy to have a publication. In terms of value, having a research publication is much more valuable than just having a project. So that's why we focus a lot on ML research in building your ML profile itself. Right. So let's start with the first thing. Why am I saying that there is a problem with traditional ML courses for engineers? What's the problem essentially? And I've seen that many of you have done some or the other of traditional courses, such as Andrew Ng's course, the Udacity course, Udemy course, etc. So let me try to tell you what the problem is with this traditional engineering courses. I'm going to share a link in the chat, and all of you can go to this link right now. It's the machine learning course offered by MIT, and all the resources are publicly available. So if you scroll through the course list, you will see that first they teach you linear classification, which is regression, let's say. Then they teach you uh, classification, collaborative filtering, neural networks. And then towards the end, they teach you unsupervised learning, such as clustering and reinforcement learning. This is fine. But take a look at the projects. Normally, in all of these introductory courses, the projects which you do are as follows. Here, you have a project on automatic review analyzer. Here, you have a project on digit recognition. Here, you have a project on collaborative filtering, which is essentially movie recommendations using Netflix, Spotify, music recommendations, etc. Do you see the problem with these projects? I, in fact, have separate set of slides specifically dedicated to this. So all the projects done in traditional courses are either this review analyzer, digit recognition, Netflix movie recommendation, sentiment analysis using Twitter. The problem with these projects is that first, the projects don't show you how to combine machine learning with your domain knowledge. Think about it. If you are a mechanical engineer, if you are an electrical engineer, chemical engineer, biological engineer, even computer science engineer, why would you do a movie analyzer project? Or why would you do a digit recognition project or a Twitter sentiment analysis project? It's not related to your domain at all. As a mechanical engineer, I want to do a project which combines my domain knowledge, which is mechanical engineering, with machine learning. And these projects completely lack that. These projects are toy projects on some problems which seem to be cool hobby problems, but they don't show how to combine machine learning with your domain. So, all of you who are in all of these domains, the real impactful projects are the ones which combine machine learning with your particular domain. And that is the introduction to the field of scientific machine learning. The second problem with these projects is that it's not possible to publish research papers with these projects. Why? Because they are toy projects. There is nothing unique. There is nothing unique about these projects. Everyone in the world has access to a Netflix movie recommendation Kaggle notebook or a digit recognition Kaggle notebook. There is nothing unique about these projects. So here I'm not saying that you should not start doing these courses. Definitely you should start doing these courses, but you should not stop there. You should try to do a very impactful project which integrates your main field with machine learning. So without leaving your main field, you should be taught ML integration in your main field. And that is what leads to real impactful projects. So I'm going to come to some domain specific projects to showcase to you right now. But before that, I want to share a list with all of you, which is the list of resources to transition to machine learning. So let's say you want to do these beginner level courses, right? I'm not saying you don't do these courses. In fact, we have made a list for these beginner level courses, and this list tells you which are the best beginner level courses to take. But don't stop at these introductory courses. So let's say if you take an introductory course out of this list, in fact, let me share this with all of you right now on the chat. So you can also access this document. So just go to this document and look at the courses. So if you do an introductory ML course, let's say if you do initial Kaggle projects, that's fine. You can do these projects, but don't add them to your resume because everyone else is doing it. Just use this as a stepping stone to your machine learning journey. So you may ask that if this is the stepping stone, what do I do next? I'm going to tell you what to do next. But first, take a very detailed look at this list of resources. I've divided the list of resources into parts such as there are even resources for mathematics concepts, coding concepts, and scientific machine learning section will come to later. For now, don't look at page 2, just look at page number 1 for now. I've even mentioned initial Kaggle projects which you can do. So if you're a complete beginner, if you want to transition to ML, start with these courses and just spend 1 month or 1.5 month in this part. Take an introductory level course. Even we have these courses which are offered uh, on our channel right now, and we are going to tell you a bit more about that later. And even initial Kaggle projects. So do these projects, but don't stop here. And let me tell you what kind of projects you can do later to distinguish yourself from the rest of the people who are transitioning to machine learning. So take a look at some of these projects. So what if you are a computer science engineer, let's say, uh, instead of doing a Twitter sentiment analysis, what if you use machine learning to model COVID-19 infections in all the regions of the world? This is what I did at MIT. I had switched from mechanical engineering to CS, and I did this as my first project, which combined machine learning with COVID-19. So, which combined machine learning with epidemiology. And suddenly, this became a very impactful project which no one has worked on. And I could even turn it into a publication. Then imagine if you are a chemical engineer, or let's say if you are one of the biological scientists or chemical engineering student in this webinar. What if you do a project which recovers a chemical reaction equation from the data alone using machine learning? So if you have a chemical reaction equation data, what if you could recover the equation using machine learning? Now that's an impactful project which you will not find anywhere probably. If you are a physics student, let's say, what if you use machine learning or a physics informed neural network to predict black hole dynamics? As a physics student, why would you do a digit recognition project, right? It does not make too much sense. It's not even impactful. But if you integrate machine learning with uh, gravitational waves, let's say, then this project is impactful. This project is highly impactful, in fact. There is a question on the chat I can see. What if we don't want to go in hardcore research? So all the examples which I'm telling you right now, I have not even come to the research aspect of it. This is just the first part where even if you don't convert it into a research publication, even if you have this as the project itself on your resume, that will still be much more impactful than doing toy Kaggle projects. So the value comes not only from research, but even the project itself. The project itself is novel, these type of projects, and they are related with your main domain. Uh, Another type of field is economics, finance, and data analytics, right? So if you want to integrate machine learning with, let's say, economics and finance, there are ways in which you can do that. So, for example, what if you do a project which integrates machine learning to predict economic market forces like supply and demand? Or, for example, if you use machine learning to model stock prices, uh, that is a very impactful project if it's framed in a novel manner. In fact, these are all projects which are meant for engineers. So if you are in biochemistry, you can use machine learning and integrate it with biochemical equations, right? That leads to an impactful project. Fluid mechanics. I can see that many people in this call are into fluid mechanics or aerospace, let's say. All of us, how many of you are familiar with the Navier-Stokes equation? Can you just put yes in the chat if you're aware of the Navier-Stokes equation? Okay, I can see that many people are aware of this. It's one of the fundamental governing equations for airflow or fluid flow. You're sitting in a room right now and air is flowing. The flow of air is governed by Navier-Stokes equation. Now, what if you use machine learning or physics-informed neural networks to analyze the Navier-Stokes equation? Wouldn't this project be extremely impactful instead of just doing a linear regression or classification analysis? Because this directly relates with fluid mechanics, this directly relates with climate or atmospheric sciences. And in fact, no one else would have been doing this project. If you start doing this project, this will be unique and this will be novel, and it can even be converted into a research publication. So if you learn to do these type of projects on your own, you will have a very strong foundation in ML because ML is the base. The second point is you can do independent research in your field of study and publish papers. So the value of publishing papers needs to be known to you right now. I realized this value much later during my PhD. But even having one research publication on your field can open doors for you in ways you would have not have thought. And that is not just for graduate studies, even for uh, job transitions, even for getting roles into startups. People value publications a lot. And so you can definitely include these projects on your CV. I would not recommend you to include a toy Kaggle project on your CV, but I will definitely recommend you to include these projects. If you can work on these projects, I highly recommend you to include them in your CV because we also review a number of applications for our company, right? And if someone has done a unique project, if they have publication, that really impresses the person who is reviewing your profile. In addition, there are some other advantages. So, for example, since I've done a PhD in scientific ML, I know that there are people in the field of scientific machine learning or professors in this field who are looking out for students. And there are not many students who are aware of this field right now. So, if you do one such project in this field, you can even reach out to professors at top universities and start working on collaborations with them. So all of these projects which I showed you right now, they kind of mix machine learning with scientific structures, right? They mix machine learning with engineering knowledge. And that's why this field is called scientific machine learning. So there is a question in the chat that how can we do these kind of projects? We don't have guided tutorials. So I'm going to come to that later. We do have developed tutorials and courses for this. But first, I just want all of you to appreciate the field of scientific machine learning itself. So no matter which domain you belong to, mechanical, CS, electrical, civil, chemical, biological, all of these domains on the screen, plus all of the domains which you all have filled here, no matter which domain you belong to, we can formulate a scientific machine learning research problem around it or any scientific machine learning project for that matter. Uh, and that can be converted into a highly impactful project or publication which can be added to your profile. So one major takeaway which I want to share with all of you after this webinar is that you can start with the resources mentioned in this list. Get started with resources mentioned in this list, but don't stop here. As the next step, try to identify a problem which combines your domain knowledge with machine learning and then try to do an impactful project in that field. Now I'm going to tell you what kind of projects you can do. But before that, let me answer a question in the chat. If you are from CS background, what kind of projects you could do? So this example which I mentioned, the COVID-19, right? So I did this project when I transitioned to the CS department at MIT. All other CS students had similar type of projects, but I was the only CS student who had used machine learning on an impactful problem. As a CS student, I will suggest to identify impactful problems such as pollution, let's say, or epidemiology, any problem, and try to apply machine learning to that problem, which combines physics or some engineering knowledge with ML. That leads to a very impactful problem statement. I'm going to now tell you how to start working on these projects in the next section. I'm going to give you all a roadmap to start constructing these projects for your particular domain. So some of the questions in the chat will be answered when we come to that roadmap. Okay, until now, hopefully I have motivated all of you enough about the field of scientific machine learning itself. Let me give you an introduction about this field so that you can at least have an intuition about how can I construct a problem in my domain. So as the name itself implies, scientific ML is that branch of ML which combines machine learning techniques with your domain knowledge. So traditional ML is like a black box, right? It is not interpretable. Scientific machine learning is like shining a torch on this black box. So scientific machine learning is asking the questions to the black box regarding, oh, why are you working the way you are working? Can I try to understand some underlying meaning behind why the ML model is working. So, as engineers, we always like to ask the question why, and we cannot not really ask it to traditional ML. But in scientific ML, since we are integrating physics, integrating engineering knowledge, it becomes machine learning models become much more interpretable. So essentially, we are combining two things. We are combining the power of neural networks with the interpretability of scientific structures. So you might be thinking that what are scientific structures, right? Scientific structures are, I'll come to it later, but right now, just to explain this, scientific structures are ordinary differential equations or partial differential equations. At the heart of it, scientific machine learning is just combining ODEs or PDEs with neural networks. So, my advisor at MIT, Dr. Chris Rakaukas, defined scientific ML as that branch which uses both data as well as domain knowledge. So now I have seen several questions on the chat regarding the field of information systems by Samuel, and then there is a question about how to do ML projects in physics. So now let me start answering these questions. Scientific ML is integrating ordinary differential equation and partial differential equation with neural networks. So the first thing which you need to find out in your field is that what is the ordinary differential equation or what is the partial differential equation in your field of study. In electronics, in information systems, in mechanical engineering, in epidemiology, in civil engineering, biological systems, there are ODEs which govern every single thing around us. And I'm going to come to what are ODEs or PDEs, but they are essentially differential equations which model the rate of change of things. So, how many of you know what an ordinary differential equation is? Can you just mention yes or no in the chat? ODEs or PDEs, if you're aware of ordinary differential equations. Okay, good. I can see that many students in the call are aware. Let me just quickly explain what those are. Ordinary differential equations are essentially rate of change of quantities. So if you have Newton's second law of motion, right, mass into acceleration can also be written as md square x by dt square is f. This is an ordinary differential equation. Let's say if you have a logistic equation, dp by dt is this, that's an ordinary differential equation. In your field of study, in your domain, right now, identify one ordinary differential equation. If you don't know about it, go to chat GPT right now and ask what is the ODE in your field. There is an ordinary differential equation or a partial differential equation in every engineering discipline. They literally govern the world around us. Then the second type of scientific structures are partial differential equations. Partial differential equations go a step further. They have more than one independent variables. So in ordinary differential equation, there is only one independent variable, time. But if you see the heat equation, this is du by dt is alpha times d square u by dx square plus d square u by dy square plus d square u by dz square. Does anyone know what this operator is called? You can mention in the chat if you know what this operator is called. But this heat equation is a pretty famous partial differential equation. So this del square, this is the delta, but what is del square? Yeah, correct. That's the Laplacian actually. This is the Laplacian operator. And the Navier-Stokes equation, which we discussed earlier, that also is an example of partial differential equation. So all of you in the call right now, identify an ordinary differential equation or a partial differential equation. Let me show you how I can do it for epidemiology. Just go here and search epidemiology ODE, and you will get that here are some of the compartmental models in epidemiology, and you will get that the most famous model is the SIR model. See, here is an ordinary differential equation for epidemiology, which I got straight away in front of me. Similarly, for all the fields of engineering, there is usually an ODE at the heart of it or a PDE. It can either be an ODE or a PDE. Once you have identified the ordinary differential equation, the next step is to integrate a neural network within that ordinary differential equation or the partial differential equation. So the first step, the first SciML ingredient is identifying ODEs and PDEs. Let's say you have identified that. The second SciML ingredient is to integrate ODEs or PDEs with neural networks. So let me give you an example of how we can do this integration. But for now, until now, just be with me when I say that ODEs or PDEs plus neural networks gives a scientific ML problem. Now we are actually going to see a problem in which you can understand how to combine ODEs or PDEs with neural networks. So let us actually look at a problem. Take a look at this video. This is let's say there is a jungle in which there are predators which are wolves and there is a prey which is rabbit. Do you know how the population of rabbits and wolves, or let's say foxes, would grow if there are predators or prey in a jungle? What would actually happen? So you might think that, oh, the predators will just eat all the prey. That's it. But that's not what usually happens, because if there is no prey, then predators also have nothing to eat. So that's an issue. So the actual data turns out to be in a cyclic manner. So if you have predators and prey in a jungle, then the population of predators and prey varies in a cyclic manner. And this variation is represented by this set of ordinary differential equations. So this is the rate of change of, let's say, rabbits, and this is the rate of change of wolves. So rate of change of rabbits depends on the rabbit population, and there is an interaction term. Rate of change of wolf depends on the wolf population, and there is an interaction term. So this is the underlying ODE which governs the rabbits and the wolf population in time. Now let me show you how we can construct a scientific ML problem around this. So let's say that imagine that you are a wildlife photographer and you have collected the data of rabbits and wolves in the jungle, and you have seen that the data of rabbits and wolf follows this pattern, right? So you have seen the oscillations in the population of rabbits and wolves. But here is the catch. The catch is that you don't know the underlying equations. Or to put it in another way, you don't know the interaction term. So this is the underlying equation. We know this, but let's say you don't have this full equation with you. You only have part of this equation. So you have the underlying data, which you have measured as a photographer. You know how the population of rabbits and wolves varies with time, but you only have missing physics. This is the missing physics which you have, which means that you don't know what the interaction terms are. You don't know whether it will be x square. You don't know whether it will be x into y. You don't know whether it will be y square. In fact, you don't know what form this interaction term will take at all. This is when you do the scientific machine learning magic. What you do then is that you replace these interaction terms with neural networks. Why can we do this? Because neural networks are function approximators. In fact, neural networks are universal function approximators, which means that if we have enough number of neurons and if we have enough number of layers, a neural network can represent or approximate any complicated function out there. So now the problem is reduced to this fact that you have collected the data, you have replaced the interaction terms with neural networks. That's why it's called scientific machine learning. We have the scientific structure, which is the ordinary differential equation, and we have augmented it with neural networks. And then we will train this entire structure on the underlying data. We have the underlying data, right? We will train this entire structure on the underlying data, and we will try to optimize the parameters of the neural network. We'll try to optimize the parameters of the neural network based on the data, and we'll try to recover that the underlying term is indeed this beta into x into y and delta into x into y. That's the power of neural networks. Through neural networks, what you can do is that you can discover missing physics. Now you don't have to do experiments in the lab to discover missing physics. You can discover missing physics by integrating a neural network with scientific structures. So someone asked a question about physics, right? Physics, there is a relativistic ordinary differential equation for black hole dynamics correction. Try to find that ODE, try to replace some terms with missing physics, or try to replace some terms with neural networks. That itself is your scientific machine learning problem. Or let's say if you are in material sciences, you have an ordinary differential equation, but there are a lot of approximations in that. And let's say you don't want approximations. So you augment that ordinary differential equation with neural networks. So essentially, you can think of scientific machine learning as taking the scientific structures and either recovering the missing physics or discovering new physics. We can even discover new physics by adding extra neural network terms to the ODE or to the PDE. So then we will train the neural network based on the data, and we will try to recover the missing terms. That is all. That is the main idea behind scientific machine learning. So to all of you who have joined this call and you belong to any of these field, try to identify an ordinary differential equation and a partial differential equation and try to think what part of that ODE or PDE you can replace with a neural network. If you can take your problem to this stage, it means that you have a start of a scientific machine learning research problem. That's what I did with this SIR model. This model has been known since 100 years, right? But during COVID-19, I saw that this model does not have any provision for quarantining. It has the susceptible populations, the infected and the recovered population, but it does not have the quarantine population. And when I wrote a research paper on this, here you can see that I've introduced a neural network to this ODE, to capture the quarantined population. So here, in a sense, I am discovering physics which was not there in the traditional SIR model, and I discovered new machine learning augmented SIR model 100 years after this model was released. So when the authors proposed this model, machine learning and neural networks were not as advanced as they are right now. But now we can do these things where we can discover new physics, or we can even recover missing physics through the power of neural networks. So what I just demonstrated to you right now is just one project, but this kind of thinking opens the door to a huge range of research project depending upon the field which you belong to. Okay. And as I reach the end of my part, I just want to cover some of the research papers which people have implemented using the field of scientific machine learning. So if you go to this list here, you can see that I have even attached the links to these papers. So you can click on these links to see the papers which I'm just showing you on screen right now. The first paper is in the field of civil engineering. So to all the civil engineers in this call, oh, there are no civil engineers, but to all the people who have, let's say, interest in civil engineering or any type of beam dynamics or structural mechanics, this paper will be useful to you. So now any other student who does not know about the field of scientific ML would think that this is a 36-page paper, so I would not understand it. But again, as I mentioned, usually there is an ordinary differential equation at the heart of every SciML paper. So let's look out for that ODE. And here is that set of ordinary differential equations. So what these authors have done is that they have taken these ODEs, they have replaced some part of those ODEs with neural networks, and then they have tried to recover those missing physics. That's all. So here you see HL is the linear part and NL is the non-linear part. They have replaced the non-linear part with a neural network. So the idea remains the same as what I showed you in the presentation. I know I'm going a bit fast here, but my main aim is to show you an intuition for how the same thing which I showed you in this presentation is also applied to research problems. So here is another interesting problem related to battery degradation. So here you can see again 30-page paper, but don't be afraid by this paper. There is actually an ordinary differential equation at the heart of it. So let me find that ODE. Here is that ordinary differential equation at the heart of this. And here you can see the authors have replaced the non-mechanistic term or missing physics with neural networks. And they have tried to recover the neural network based on the underlying data. If you are a chemical engineer or biological engineer, here what these authors have done in this paper is that they have taken these ordinary differential equations, and then based on the data, they have tried to recover the underlying equation from the data alone. And here is my paper, which I showed you right now. What I did was I introduced another term, which is the quarantine term. I replaced it with a neural network and discovered missing physics in the epidemiological ODEs. So what you have learned right now is the kind of projects, and in fact, this document has all the list of projects which can give you enough inspiration, whichever field you belong to. So the final thing which I would like to say in my part is that try to identify an ODE or a PDE. If you identify that you have the start of a SciML research problem, let's say if you want to work on pollution, right? Try to look at pollution or air pollution ODEs. Something or the other will come up which people have not worked on maybe. So try to look at ODEs or PDEs and then try to think of, okay, can I replace some part of this with a neural network? Can I augment this physics with neural networks? And then you can start working on this problem which no one else would have worked on. That would lead to uniqueness and huge amount of value creation on your profile itself. So there were a number of questions on the chat regarding machine learning courses and regarding scientific machine learning courses. So in the next part, Dr. Shridath is going to cover the details about the courses which we have launched at Vizuara AI, how these courses might help you and which courses are the right ones for you to enroll in. So I'll give it over to Dr. Shridath now.
Yeah, thanks, Raj. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So before showing the courses, let me just take 2 minutes to show you one small thing. So this was a paper that we recently worked on with a student from Mexico, Raimundo. And this paper was based on, there is something called Chandrasekhar's white dwarf equation. So white dwarf is nothing but at the close to the death of a star, its luminosity can decrease significantly, not because its temperature reduces, but it becomes so small in size, so dense, and it will appear almost like white in color. And there is an equation where the quantum mechanics and relativity can be combined together, and there is a limit for the mass of these white dwarf stars, which Indian scientist Chandrasekhar, he recognized that it can be maximum 1.4 times the mass of our sun. No white dwarf can exist with mass greater than that. So that was also known as Chandrasekhar's limit, which won the Nobel Prize in 1983. And what we did is, this was also basically a differential equation describing the density, like a factor that determines density with another factor that is significant, that is signifying the radial distance from the center of the star. And this differential equation we worked on, and what we did was we implemented two frameworks from scientific machine learning, UD and neural OD. UD for universal differential equation. And here, as you can see, we did not replace the entire differential equation with neural network. We retain certain terms, but only a few terms we replace. So just look at this NN2, this neural network 2. It is basically replacing this term over here, like this phi square minus c raised to 3 by 2. So that term is being replaced. And you can see that in one of the next plots that I'm going to show you, you can see that over here, that missing term can be very accurately determined by the, I hope you can read. I'll just try to zoom in a little bit. So here you can see that the missing term, which was minus of phi square minus c raised to 3 by 2, is very, very well approximated by the universal differential equation. So this is an example of just one of the problems that anybody in this call can actually work on. None of us are formally trained physicists. We are just people who are very much interested in science. But because this problem statement appeared very appealing to us, we decided to work on it. So similarly, even if you are a mechanical, civil, or whatever engineering branch you are studying in, there are many such problems existing all around you, which are so interesting, and you can work on them. You can, if you have a good results, you can try to submit it to good machine learning related conferences. And this one is now accepted to NeurIPS workshop, which is happening in Vancouver, Canada. So we are trying to go there and present this. I just want to take a few minutes to talk about a very new program that we have launched. This is a live machine learning boot camp where we are essentially offering minor in AI. So this minor consists of 4 courses, and we are offering this in collaboration with a college called Sardar Patel Institute of Technology. This is probably in the top 5 of engineering colleges in Maharashtra. And we ourselves are teaching, and it will be live classes. The classes are starting from 1st of January. So in the minor, there are actually 4 courses, and these courses are structured such that it carries total 14 credits, which translates to certain number of hours. So if you are currently a student, you can transfer these credits to towards your degree requirements, provided your home institution also allows. If that works out, SPIT will be more than happy to transfer the credits. But I just want to talk about the specific courses once. So in the minor, we are teaching 4 courses. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Also, you can go to this link to check it out. I just pasted the link here. But basically, in the minor, we'll be having 4 courses spanned over 4 semesters. So students are enrolling in the minor for 2 years. So each semester, they'll take 1 course. There is also an accelerated stream where some students are taking 2 courses per semester. So they'll be finishing 4 courses in 2 semesters, meaning 1 year. But the first course is about foundations in AI and ML. This is almost like a before machine learning course, meaning before you even formally start learning machine learning, you have to know some foundations in linear algebra, some foundations in calculus, some foundations in programming itself, and where the machine learning field is currently headed. If you were learning machine learning in 2012 versus 2024, what should be the difference? How has the field evolved, and what should you really be focusing on? Should you be focusing on NLP or CV or large language models or something else? So that we'll be discussing in the first course. Second course is about purely machine learning and deep learning. If some of you have watched our lecture series on a neural network from scratch by Raj on our YouTube, this course is an even more comprehensive live version of teaching you building ML models and deep learning models completely from scratch. mainly also for the purpose of equipping you with the knowledge which typically is not provided in online courses. In the third course, we try to incorporate NLP and CV, but not in the most comprehensive fashion because that will be an overkill. But we wanted to give it to you in the format where you can actually work on a proper capstone project so that you can feel exceptionally confident in NLP and CV. And then the last course is about large language model. So this large language model course will cover several things: theory, deployment, and a project. Um, which is a little bit too much in my opinion to cover in one course because this field is so vast. But yet if you take this course, you will have a fairly good idea about what is happening in the generative AI space, especially with respect to large language models from a theory, deployment, and an actual application standpoint. So imagine building a like a chatbot for WhatsApp. So if someone is messaging you on WhatsApp, and if you are running a business, and if you have a WhatsApp business email, sorry, business WhatsApp number, you can automatically reply to that person, whoever is messaging you. So things like that we'll be covering in that in the fourth course. So I'll share the link to this also in the chat plus in the email. The other set of courses are on programmed electives, which are only meant for generative AI. So here, let me just open this. Here there are other set of courses. So this one course, right? So this one course is like a course that covers multiple things within a course, but we have these programmed electives which are 4x longer than the this one individual course on large language model. So here we'll be covering generative AI fundamentals, building GPT from scratch, LLM production and deployment. So here is where you will actually build your own GPT, which is almost like production level. You will do a little bit of fine tuning. Then we'll also have a very big capstone project, and this project alone is one single course. So these are also 4 courses, but these courses do not have uh, similar order as that of the minor. People can take these courses at any point of time. But in the next semester, starting from January 2025, we are only offering 5 courses live. Remaining courses will start from July. Those are the 2 courses from minor, and then the 2 courses from the generative AI. So the first 2 courses from minor we are offering next semester. The first 2 courses from minor, or sorry, the programmed electives are also being offered next semester, and we are also offering a course on scientific machine learning. And this is also like a certified course. Pricing, everything you can check here. Then currently till November 15th, I think, yeah, till November 15th there is early bird discount going on. So just check it out. If you are interested, you can enroll. If you have questions, you can of course feel free to reach out. Our goal is basically the following. When we were visiting a lot of engineering colleges over the last few months, mainly for talking about AI only, we realized that what they are doing is teaching 80% computer science curriculum in the name of AI. And what's happening in most of the online courses is like what Raj mentioned. There is very little focus on fundamentals. Very few people I have seen personally can uh, build a neural network from scratch. If you really understand what's going on behind that, you can build something from scratch. If you are asked a question like what happens if you remove the activation function from neural network, I have seen very rarely students are able to answer exactly with the proper intuition why exactly activation functions are needed in a neural network. It's a very simple question. The answer is very simple. It's a very basic intuition, but most people do not know this intuition. So that this is something that we have constantly observed in online courses as well as what is currently happening in engineering colleges. So we wanted to kind of bridge that gap where a tremendous emphasis on fundamentals has to be brought back. And in association with that, we also want to make sure that whatever we are teaching is relevant to you, like it's useful to you. So just check this out. Here we explain every single detail. And you can also take individual courses, you can also take bundles. So there are several different options. And as far as scientific machine learning goes, we also have a scientific machine learning boot camp. I will share the link in the chat. I'm sure many of you are probably aware of that. So most of the students who published papers with us, they were part of the scientific machine learning bootcamp. So a couple of our papers actually got accepted to NeurIPS. One was about the one which I showed you, Chandrasekhar's white dwarf equation, modeling that using SciML. Another paper was about identifying AI versus human written text using AI itself. So we built a NLP model, advanced NLP models, as well as we built traditional ML models for identifying human written text versus AI written text. And to our great surprise, it works really, really well. Like the accuracy that we got on our custom data set is 92, 94%. So that was another amazing work that happened as a result of all of this. So if any of you are interested in scientific machine learning, um, and if you want to think of something yourself, just think, as Raj mentioned, think where in your domain you can find a a phenomenon described by a differential equation, and most likely this will be a transient phenomenon, because some driving force will be there, some opposing force will be there, and the difference between these two will cause some change. That change will be explained by the by some kind of transient. If it's in equilibrium, the driving force and opposing force will match, right? Then it'll be a special case. Sometimes it won't be force, sometimes it'll be energy. So there will be an energy that drives the phenomenon. There will be some dissipative energy that's happening, which kind of makes sure that the phenomenon is not blowing up. So the difference between this will form the transient. If they are equal to each other, it will be sort of like an equilibrium. So I'm sure this applies in EC. In computer science, one of the students that recently, it's not directly related to computer science, one of the students who recently worked on it was working on a problem statement where there was a differential equation to quantify the click-through rate in advertisements. Actually, not click-through rate, the final conversion. I mean, ultimately, it's a cumulative of click-through rate only. And what this student did is he used scientific machine learning framework to predict the efficacy of ad for Meta ads or LinkedIn ads or Google ads. And the data for this is already available. There are a lot of open source data sets available for this. You can also model the same thing using differential equation, and then this will give you some kind of a really good framework. So you can check if your scientific machine learning framework is fitting with analytic framework, right? The equations, numerical framework, where you solve something just by using your you brute forcing your way through Python or Julia. And then third is real experimental data. You can also check with that. So there are many such options available, irrespective of what engineering domain you are in. But that's pretty much what we wanted to cover today. If you have any doubts or questions about bootcamp or anything else, feel free to reach out to us. And if you want to work with us on any SciML related research projects, again, feel free to reach out to us. If you have your own problem statement in your mind, just send us a message if to even know the feasibility of that. Sometimes students ask us if this is even feasible for SciML. We'll be more than happy to let you know what we think. And we can probably spend 5 minutes in the Q&A for answering any questions. SciML Bootcamp. So SciML Bootcamp on the website, which I sent later from Flyvidesh, that is not live bootcamp. The paper writing part, of course, is live because we work on it on a topic to topic basis. But the courses which I showed you, the minor and the programmed electives, all of that is live. Then combined SciML and minor. Oh yeah, Saket, you were asking, could you take minor course plus SciML course? I guess, is that what you're asking? Yeah, yes, of course you can take that. I mean, the minor is anyway something that is separate. It's a live program which starts next week. The difference between Vizuara and Flyvidesh is, I mean, both are our websites only, but the Vizuara is one is where we host the live courses. Flyvidesh one is where currently we have hosted the scientific machine learning bootcamp. Maybe next year or something we might move it to Vizuara's website. That's all. It's basically the same. Both are our websites. Um, Many industry professionals were actually calling us in the last week asking about transitioning to ML. And one of the issues that they mentioned was they don't have the math fundamentals, or they don't have the programming fundamentals, which they think they lack. And then almost always the answer that we tell them is, one of the students who recently worked with us on this battery degradation project, which was also recently presented at MIT URTC. It's probably one of the most prestigious conferences for undergraduate students. That paper was actually worked on by a 15-year-old kid, and a very smart student. But also, if you have had many years of experience working in the industry, or many years of experience studying concepts, I'm sure you can pick it up. So the minor basically starts from very very basics, like starting from literally vector addition, and going into a bit of complex aspects of linear algebra, then going into probability, then going into calculus, bit of statistics, etc. But you don't have to know um, anything too much in detail. Basic logic and basic math skills are the only thing that is needed. In SciML Julia, we start with the Hello World version of Julia, starting from installation of Julia, Hello World of Julia, and then we go to solving a bit more complex assignments, and then finally only we'll start working on the research paper. Mayank, yeah, that's a great question. Exams, so it will be online, not offline, because people from different parts of the world are joining, right? So it'll be completely online. Um, Exams, we are planning to conduct exams, but the only thing that we have made a change is, so initially we thought we'll keep an exam and make the course pass or fail based on the exam score. But then later we thought, but that will be against the idea of the course itself, because the course is supposed to be helpful for complete beginners. And if we create a very difficult exam, it may not be going well with the level of knowledge that beginners have. So then we thought we'll make it pass or fail based on attendance. So you will have to attend the lectures to ensure that you pass the course. So that is currently how we have structured it. I mean, to give you the certificate.
There is
Um,
a question about Gen AI and LLM. So
okay.
I'm posting a link in the chat because in the list of bundles, if you go to this link is specifically for the generative AI bundle. So there is the minor, which is the bundle. There is a generative AI bundle, and there is one more bundle which is for transitioning to ML, which includes so if your domain is mechanical, electrical, civil, or any other domain, the transition to ML bundle is starting with ML foundations, then MLDL mastery, and then scientific machine learning is also included in that bundle. So let me share actually the link to that bundle as well. Yeah. So this is the link to that bundle. You can check this.
Mayank has one more question about starting bundle. So basically, the way bundles work is like this, right? So if you are enrolling, there are four courses in minor. If someone is taking all these four courses at random points of time, they will not get minor, because uh, then they're essentially not officially part of the minor program. So to get the minor certificate, someone should enroll in the minor program itself, which is the minor bundle. But of course, you can take, if you are just interested in some of the individual courses, you can take it at any point of time, no problem, because we'll be running these courses pretty much every semester. So this semester we have 5 courses live. Next semester we have probably 7 courses live. This meaning starting from January 1st, and then next meaning starting from probably July 2025. SciML plus paper writing bundle. Yeah, yeah. So SciML plus paper writing is the one that we have in the scientific machine learning bootcamp. Maybe I can share the link to that. So just check out this link. In that you will find a researcher, but it's not a live course-based program. This research paper is more based on identifying topic for writing a paper and then working towards that. All right. So I think we are at the time right now. Thank you everyone for staying till the end. And we'll be conducting more of these webinars for sure, every at least every 6 or 7 weeks. And actually, if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, we will be posting videos which are recordings of these webinars, plus on various other concepts. Raj has bunch of amazing uh, playlists already going on, which are very very popular. So if you haven't checked out our YouTube, I'll just share the link here. Oh, Raj has already shared. So Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, just email us. We'll be happy to reach out. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.